we're on to Paris FC.
Here we go.
So why would former World Cup winner and more recently Europa League champion Raphael Varane join us? Well, no one wanted him. And despite me thinking I was lowballing him with a 55k a week offer, he immediately accepted.
Come in my mother house.
With an actual good budget for once, we were able to make several signings. An unpredictable attacking midfielder from Norway named Jonas Rygsetter, Caio Henrique from Monaco, who's an impressive attacking fullback, and the last key signing was Dominik Livakovic from Wolves to play net to mentor our Bolivian Jose Luis Torres. Several other young prospects came in to be rotation options. This included Orhan Çetin for right wing, Peter Kokosch as striker or as an inside forward on the left, Younes Beniaya from Morocco who chilled in the under-19s, along with Pasquale Rosa from AC Milan. These were all the sales that were made, with a key one being Luka Hiralainen. He had less than 2 years left, wanted to leave, and our midfield was bloated. So while I would have loved to keep our Finnish giant, he went off to Almeria. Luperto also left, and so did Peter Previc, who couldn't turn down the chance to move to Dortmund. That allowed Patrick Pfeiffer to come in as a speedy rotation option at the back. With Livakovic, Caio Henrique, and Raphael Varane on their debut, we had Marseille on the exact same match day as that dreaded game last season. Yet, for some reason, despite them playing this structure of a formation, they were able to keep more possession than us and score 3 goals. Henrique on a 6.9, Varane on a 6.6, and Livakovic on a 5.9. Marseille's 2 strikers, by the way, scored 50 goals combined this season.
That's an exasperation. Exaggeration! Read a book, would you?
Forget all that. It's the home debut that really matters. We were hosting RC Lens, a club Varane played for prior to making his move to Real Madrid. He must have been too sentimental as we were absolutely atrocious. Specifically Livakovic and Caio Henrique, but our attack wasn't helping either. Shakur Amar's few small injuries in the month weren't ideal, but our top scorer was Jakub Moder. After defeating Montpellier 1-0, he was still our only goal scorer. That wouldn't change after Lyon, where they decided to join the clowning of Paris and smacked us up 3-0. An awful start to the season that was filled with Conference League qualifying matches. The UEFA Europa Conference League was a competition created in 2021 to include more countries in European football. It's a third tier level behind the Europa League, and us finishing in 7th meant we had to play 4 matches to actually participate in the damn thing. Making a comparison, in August, we scored 2 goals in Ligue 1 through 4 matches. In the Conference League qualifiers, we scored 14 in 4 matches. That included Mboop getting 2 hat-tricks versus Sivasspor and a brace against Feyenoord. Despite that, these proved to be more difficult than I anticipated, but attaining a 2-0 win in the second leg with Feyenoord had us advance to the league phase. Yes, even the Conference League can't run away from UEFA's new format. The positive is that we only had to play 6 matches in this section. This phase at times was simple, defeating KF Skendia, Olympia, and Punic comfortably. However, Karabakh was difficult because Kokosch decided to be a dumb and get a 3-match suspension. We still won, but I can't say that for Lyngby and Panathinaikos away.
Shut up, Panathinaikos!
Granted, I did rotate my side for all these matches. However, Lyngby had this Daniel Eriksson guy who had 6 finishing, scored 2 on me, which included a 92nd minute equalizer, literally minutes after we thought Dieng got the game winner. Nevertheless, we finished 5th and would play Maccabi Tel Aviv in the round of 16 later on. Paris FC were in the relegation zone entering matchday 5, and something was needed to get us back on track. Joss Da Silva would become a consistent starter on the team as he'd have a fantastic September. A month that saw him score 3, which included wins over Lorient, Lille, Brest, and Guingamp. Finally, the team was finding consistency. Livakovic and Varane were actually performing well. How could anything go wrong? Mbappe versus Mboop we lost 3-0. In more interesting news, PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi scaled down the funding for the club, which saw them spend the most since season 1. Granted, they did sell the most since the 2nd season and are no longer rich. Maybe one day, we'll see a different Paris club win Ligue 1. Just not this year. Joss Da Silva was getting love, but everyone was infatuated with Jakub Moder, who last campaign was our only player in Ligue 1's team of the season. I'm sure his idol Moussa Sissoko would be proud. Against Troyes, the man showed up, scoring 2 decent shots, along with Mboop and Bamba Dieng getting on the stat sheet as well. It's a shame we couldn't save one of those goals against Nantes in a 0-0 draw.
It's good to know that there are other useless people in this world.
I got absolutely rinsed by Wilfried Nancy's Nice. The former CF Montreal manager had Terem Moffi grab 2 in the first half hour. To be fair, we didn't help ourselves, especially on Hector Bellerin's goal. From this point on, Wilfried Ball would start to cook. Unlike us, who lost to Monaco 1-0 thanks to a guy who has Maestro in his name. Did Did I even have a chance? We were set piece specialists versus Renz, as all 3 of the goals arrived from them. Thankfully, we were good at them for once, as Renz scored 2 from seemingly nothing. Also, getting the better of Alexander Fry was nice too, because the man criticized me before the match, saying that we played tippy-tappy stuff. He was still well ahead of me on the table though. Against our arch nemesis David Guillon, and Boop knew it was time to get on the score sheet. In the second half, Deltarune would score an ugly equalizer, and Boop had a chance to win it, and so did Alvaro Diaz. But after Shakur Omar did well to win the ball,
Omoder! Yeah! Oh, what a goal.
More dominant wins followed, with Auxerre catching the spoke 3-0 and Rems 4-2, which saw a new signing cap off the match. For 400k, I brought in a new gen from South Africa named Bangu Musa Nihalapo. We may not see much of him in the near future, but even with a little bit of development, he'll be our guy up top. The only other deal in January was seeing Felicande move to Caen for 500k. Moving into the second half of the season, a massive match against Marseille was happening, and we needed to be at our best to get a result, especially on defense.
I'm too old for this.
Well, Alvaro Diaz will have to step up. Where's my backline? Where are my South Americans? Oh, the South Olympic game qualifying!
Pain.
We at least defended well against Marseille for 89 minutes. Just not the first. Montpellier was a snooze fest too, leaving us in 7th, quite away from the Champions League playoff spot. So versus Lyon, who had the same ambitions as us, we responded right after the half by winning a penalty, and Caio Henrique slotted it in. Quickly after, Shakur Omar sent Dieng in behind to take the lead, which had me hyped. Another goal for Bamba sealed the result. Things were heating up, so let's add more to it with the French Cup. We've had many missed opportunities in the French Cup to at least make the semi-final, let alone the final. This venture began with what I initially thought was an Irish-French team.
Are you dumb?
That's why you stay in school, kids. Of course, they were dealt with easily. Auxerre in the 10th round was just as easy as our league fixture. But that's always the case when Mboop gets a brace. David Guillon Strasbourg in the Sweet 16 needed to be a win, regardless if our backline was in South America or not. Mboop knew what to do and opened the scoring 20 minutes in. Zaruri later scored a safety goal to confirm the victory. The quarterfinal opponent was Lens, which witnessed the greatest goalkeeper performance in the French Cup's now 111-year history.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Joss da Silva also scored this in a 6-0 victory. This was their goalkeeper, and I think 17 reflexes was a lie. So just like that, we were in the semi-finals for the first time since Season 2. Opposing us were Rennes. They were on a fantastic run of form, which included defeating PSG and Marseille. Paris FC, on the other hand, luckily, I didn't draw Gangam, but man, it was damn close. Bamba Dieng off the bench had a great strike with his weak foot in the 91st minute to deliver a 1-0 victory. The only other match in this sequence was versus PSG, and Mbappe versus Mboop 6, and it started off with several chances being exchanged, but as usual, it would be PSG who struck first. Not really sure what Caio Henrique was doing there. PSG seemed dominant on the ball, but they were playing with their food too much as Araujo's weak pass was stolen by Shakur, who did a give and go with Mboop to equalize the match. Wait, Mboop is winning the battle.
Yes, sir.
They scored a third, and we would lose yet another battle. Still 7th, and well off 4th. It was time to make our first final in the save, but Rennes weren't going to make it simple. They were the better team in the first half, but it would be Bamba Dieng who'd score the opening goal. However, one mistake in the second half led to an immediate counterattack for an RDT equalizer. Moussa Kanté then got injured, and while his output was slowing down, it was a shame to see him gone for over a month. We managed to survive the rest of the 90 with Livakovic playing well, and with no extra time in this competition, we had penalties. It was in FM's hands, and both the opening takers RDT and Moder placed theirs well. Mayer for Rennes sent his countrymen the wrong way, and Caio Henrique just got his in. Weary, Panenka Zlavakovic. Braganza then responded with a Panenka of his own. A battle of Panenkas, it seems. Bourigeaud accepted the challenge by also doing a Panenka. Surely Kokas wasn't going to do one as well. No, he smashed his in the bottom corner. Good man. Perrier. He Panenkas it, but he fails. And Mboop can send us to our first cup final in this save. Mboop. Mboop. Let's go! been lucky, but we needed that as we weren't getting that in the league. Conference League, however, Maccabi Tel Aviv in the round of 16 of the Conference League proved to be more difficult than I anticipated. The Turkish-man Satin scored in the second minute, making me think this was going to be a bloodbath, but it ended 1-0. The second leg saw Mboop score, but that was also the only goal. 2-0 in aggregate would see us face Aston Villa and come up against the European king.
Good evening.
I don't know what Unai was cooking, but we were getting outclassed at home. You know, there's a saying, when you face a 4-4-2, you match with a 4-4-2. However, I don't have players to do that, so let's go 4-2.
Wow. Impressive.
So that was a mistake. We managed to salvage everything with an Mboop goal late, but going to Villa Park trying to stay in the game as long as possible, we would eventually collapse with Ali Akman blocking up Bergantia, leading to a Calvert-Lewin goal. Zolis found the second, giving Villa a 3-goal advantage. Our Norwegian Eugen Jonas Rigsetter would get 2 back, while FM would troll me by having Zolis get another in the 95th minute. These English sides, man.
Lucky man, sometimes.
The lead up to our first French Cup final had 7 Ligue 1 matches, and we won 6 out of the 7. The highlights being wins versus Nice and Rennes away from home, 2 teams who we were chasing for a top 4 place. The lone drop points would be crucial though. The match was versus AS Monaco, another club we have never defeated in this save, let alone draw. However, with Shakur Omar's opening goal, it could finally be coming. In the latter stages of the match, Zaruri off the bench won a penalty, which would see Caio Henrique making it 2-0. It's finally going to happen. But when you think you're safe and sound, corner kicks. Nico Gonzalez scored that, and with us in added time, oh no.
What are you doing?
Come on, stop it, please. Another fucking Panenka. A painful draw, which would see the club 5 points behind Marseille, basically ruling out the Champions League playoff. We were pretty safe for 5th or 6th, which is a Europa League place, but at this point, that didn't matter. Paris FC have never won a domestic cup trophy. Before joining them, the only type of victory they felt was in the 2nd division of France in 1971 and the 4th tier in 2006. In 2028, they could finally win the French Cup and become the 7th Paris club to win it. Yo, 6 clubs in the city did this before us? The opponent would be Nimes, a Ligue 2 side who had an impressive run defeating Nantes 5-0 and winning on penalties in a thrilling 3-3 draw with Marseille. They couldn't be overlooked, but they had to get through this side. Livakovic, who was displaced in the league by our young Bolivian, had the capabilities to deliver in the big moments. Our Colombian right back Rua with Caio Henrique on the left side, Rafael Varane leading and partnering with the young Peruvian Alvaro Diaz. Playmaking from deep would be the club icon Braganza, who had Jos de Silva and Jakub Moder ahead of him. Musa Conte was our right wing, but on the left, the 4th best player in Ligue 1, Shakur Omar. Up top, with Bamba Dieng injured, it had to be Mboop's moment. Their side had Cabal, who was with us in Season 1. Regardless, it was proving to show that the moment was too big for them, and the perfect time for Mboop to shine. And we were playing rather quite well. Mboop. Nimes got rattled and conceded a penalty a minute after, which Mboop had to tuck in. Nimes had a great story, and it would have been nice to win the final after losing it 3 times in the past. But this is Mboop's world, and we're just living in it, as the man with an unknown place of birth would claim a legendary hat-trick and help us lift this glorious trophy for the first time ever. The hangover afterwards lasted for the rest of the season, as we claimed 1 point in the final 2 matches, finishing in 6th. Bamba Dieng was still our top scorer, despite having a massive drop-off. Shakur, Alvaro Diaz, and Moder were the top performers, Chroo would become an icon, and finally, we were able to add another trophy to the count versus PSG. I think we're starting to catch up.